Hello friends, it's Kristie Marcotte. In today's video, I'll be making cards using Paper Rose Studio's Pink Halloween collection. I received a ton of requests to use Paper Rose Studio's Pink Halloween collection. There are lots of different products that are part of this collection. I decided I would use their 6x8 Quick Cards collection pack, and I also have the coordinating 6x8 die cut and sentiment pack. I've used a few of Paper Rose's quick card collections before. They're super easy, and if you need to make a bunch of cards very quickly, these are perfect. Inside the pack, there's an inspiration sheet, shows you how you can quickly assemble 6 different cards. And you can follow this same guide for all of your cards. The pack includes 4 sheets of embossed die cuts, lots of images and sentiments. There's no fussy cutting required, everything simply pops out. One of the sheets is just images, but the other 3 sheets have small sentiments and then some large images framed with different colors. I think this is the first quick card collection I've used that has the embossed die cuts. And I absolutely love Paper Rose's embossed die cuts. The glossy finish is gorgeous. The pack also includes 18 double-sided pattern papers. There's 3 of each design. And it's nice having the large 6x8 size since you can cut them in half and get 2 card backgrounds for an A2 size card. And I almost exclusively make A2 size cards, so I'll be able to make a ton of cards using this pack. One of my favorite things about their quick card collections, the pattern paper sheets have a layer on top. It looks like another piece of pattern paper and cardstock, but this is all one sheet. So there's no extra layers, but it has the look of it. Now most of the designs on the full sheet are horizontal, but if you cut the design in half, you'll be making vertical cards. And all of my cards in this video will be vertical except for one. So here are the first 6 patterns. So many fun designs. I love all the adorable critters, little trick-or-treaters. There's lots of Halloween treats. And when we flip these over, there's a fun watercolor design on the back. All beautiful colors that match with the pattern paper. There's a sheet of a light gray, this beautiful orange, 3 different shades of pink, and there's also a gray brick tone-on-tone pattern. So there are all the 12 designs, and there's another 6 sheets, so you'll receive a total of 18 sheets of 6x8 pattern paper. And if you're not a fan of Halloween cards, Paper Rose Studio has lots of other options in their quick card collection. Last year I used a fall collection and also a Christmas collection, and I'll link those videos at the end of this video if you want to check them out. I also picked up the coordinating 6x8 die cuts and sentiment pack, and these are the exact same die cuts that are included in the Quick Cards collection. Sometimes it's nice to have 2 of each since I do tend to make multiples of the same card. So let's go ahead and get started with card design number 1. And I will be finishing off almost all of the pattern paper and the embossed die cuts. For this first card, I cut down the background to 4 inches by 5 1/4 inches. And I'm layering it on some black cardstock. Black cardstock works really well with this collection. I'll put ATG tape on the back and add my card front onto a card base. Now I'll bring in some of the embossed die cuts and also a few cardstock die cut pieces. I selected the image with a pink jack-o'-lantern filled with candy. There's a little crow sitting on top wearing a pink witch hat, which is adorable. I'll glue that down using Barely Art glue. For a sentiment, I'm adding treats, and I am popping it up using some foam dimension. Before adhering it down, I did put a small scrap piece of pattern paper on the very right side, then I'll add that piece of foam. I'll remove the release paper and adhere the sentiment on the right side of the embossed image. For a little extra detail in the upper left-hand corner, I'm adding 2 banners. I use Paper Rose Studios large banner die set 1 and 2. For the larger banner, I cut this from black cardstock, and the smaller banner, I used some pink cardstock from my stash. The banners are a little bit longer than I want for my card, so I'll lay the 2 pieces together, hold them on the front of the card, flip it over, use a pair of scissors, and trim off the extra. I'll adhere the black banner down first. And before adding the pink banner, I'm putting a small scrap piece of cardstock on the right side of the black banner. That way, when I add the pink banner, the right side of it doesn't dip down. After cutting the 2 background pieces, I did end up with this narrow strip of pattern paper. I simply cut it in half and I'll add it on the inside of the card just for a little extra detail. So there is my finished card, and I did end up making 4. The other 2 cards, I used an embossed die cut piece, but I adhered it on a stitch circle die cut first. Now moving on to card design number 2. I selected this lovely pattern paper for the background that has pink and orange plaid design, and then a narrow strip of a pattern paper looking piece with little trick-or-treaters, critters, all at a Halloween party. On the left side of the card, I'm adding a 1.5 inch strip of the soft orange watercolor pattern paper. I did layer it on some black cardstock, and that layer is an additional 1/8 of an inch. I'll adhere it on the left side of the card, then layer the background piece on black cardstock. That cardstock layer is also an additional 1/8 of an inch. Then I'll put ATG tape on the back and add my card front onto a card base, leaving 1/8 of an inch of the white card base showing. We'll put that scrap pattern paper piece on the inside of the card, then add some of the embossed die cut pieces. I selected this spooky little ghost holding a lovely pink floral bouquet, and I'll add the ghost on a stitched oval die cut. And I used some white shimmer cardstock for the oval. I'll put glue on the back, adhere the oval on the right side, then I'll add the ghost in the center of the oval. For a sentiment, I selected Ghostly Greetings, and I am popping it up using some small foam squares from scrapbook.com. For embellishments, I'm using some Love from Lizzie peel-offs. This is the mini circle style in black. I'll put 3 circles in the upper left-hand corner and 2 on the right side of the ghost. So there is my finished card, and I did make 4 using this design. For the other 2 cards, I used one of the large circle embossed die cut pieces. I put the orange strip on the left side of the card, and that strip is a little narrower than the other. I think I cut this strip to 1 1/4 of an inch and then added that black cardstock layer. And I added this sentiment, "Too cute to spook." For card design number 3, I am using a card sketch for inspiration. This is from Sugar Pea Designs. It's Sugar Sketch number 20. And if you are interested in this sketch, including measurements, you can find that on my coordinating blog post. The link is in the description box below, or you can simply head over to KristieMarcotte.com. For the background of my card, I used the right side of the pattern paper, so the left side would have that printed strip down the center. For the 2 narrow strips that go behind the image panel, I used the brick pattern paper and one of the light pink colors. I cut the ends at an angle, and I held those 2 pieces up together so I could get the same angle. I'll layer the background piece on black cardstock, and that cardstock layer is an additional 1/4 of an inch. So the pattern paper piece is 4 inches by 5 1/4 inches, and the black cardstock is 4 1/4 of an inch by 5 1/2 inches. I'll add my card front onto a card base, put the narrow strip of pattern paper on the inside. And now I'll start working on the image box. I use some white shimmer cardstock. I'll round all 4 corners of the white cardstock and also the black cardstock layers using a corner chomper, and I selected the 1/4 inch corner size. After rounding all 4 of the corners, I'll adhere the 2 pieces together, and the black cardstock layer is an additional 1/8 of an inch. So 2 5/8 of an inch by 3 3/8 of an inch. Before I adhere the image panel on the card, I'll first put a scrap cardstock piece on the right side, just in the area where it goes off of the 2 pattern paper strips on the left side. I'll put adhesive on the back and adhere the image panel in place. Now I'll bring in some of the embossed die cut images and sentiment. I'm adding this cute little mummy, and I did pop up all of the die cut pieces using foam dimension from scrapbook.com. I'll put the mummy on the right side of the image box, the sentiment in the upper left-hand corner, and this adorable little bat will be above the sentiment, more on the right side. And I will have one of the bat's wings sitting on the sentiment. I'll remove the release paper and add this adorable little bat. For embellishments, I'm using more Love from Lizzie peel-offs, this time the mini star style in black. I'll put 3 of the stars in the lower left-hand corner and 2 in the upper right-hand corner of the image box. So there is my finished card, and I did make 4. For the other 2 cards, I used the left side of the pattern paper piece. You can see how they line up. So that design has the pattern in the very center. So I simply added one of the circle image die cut pieces and a sentiment below it. And for that little extra detail, I did put a black banner behind the sentiment. When the haunted house is painted pink, I don't think there's anything spooky about it. Now moving on to card design number 4, and this will be a very quick and easy card. I selected the pattern paper with the black, white, and pink stripes, and then it has this fun design down the center. I'll layer it on black cardstock, and that cardstock layer is an additional 1/8 of an inch. Put ATG tape on the back and add my card front onto a card base, leaving 1/8 of an inch of the white card base showing. I'll add the narrow scrap piece of pattern paper on the inside. I have 2 of the embossed die cut pieces. This sweet little cat wearing a witch's hat, and I did pop this up using foam dimension. I'll remove the release paper, add the cat in the center, a little bit more toward the top. Then I'll put the sentiment Happy Halloween underneath, and the very top of this sentiment will overlap that circle die cut. I have foam dimension on the back. I just didn't add any foam in the area where it sits on the circle die cut. I'll put a little bit of glue in that area. For final finishing touch, adding 3 of the black star peel-offs. So there is my finished card, and I did make 4 using this design. Sometimes it's nice to do those very quick and simple cards, but they're still absolutely adorable. The other 2 cards, I used a stitch circle die cut and added the embossed die cut image. Now moving on to card design number 5, I will be using a card sketch for inspiration. This is from Mojo Monday. It's sketch number 539. For the background of my card, I have the pattern paper with the little Halloween party scene. For the narrow strip that goes across the card, I'm using the brick tone-on-tone pattern. And on the left side of the card, I selected one of the pink watercolor papers. I'm layering everything on black cardstock. I'll put the pink watercolor strip on the left side. Then I'll add the narrow strip of the brick pattern paper. But before I adhere it down, I will put some scrap cardstock pieces on the right and left side, just in the areas where it goes over that pink watercolor paper. Now I'll put glue on the back and adhere the narrow strip, trying to make sure to get it nice and straight. Now I'll layer the background on black cardstock. My background piece is 4 inches by 5¼ inches. The black cardstock layer is an additional 1/8 of an inch. And then I'll layer it one more time on some pink cardstock. Put ATG tape on the back and add my card front onto a card base. I love the extra pop of pink from the very background cardstock layer. Now I'll bring in some of the embossed die cut pieces and also some cardstock pieces. And I have these stored in one of scrapbook.com's stack and sort trays. This is the smaller size. It helps so I don't lose all these pieces when I'm prepping my cards. For the large banner in the upper left-hand corner, using some black cardstock, I'll simply cut the fishtail, put glue on the back, and adhere it in place. Before adding the embossed die cut image, there's all these different layers on my card, so I will be adding a couple of cardstock layers behind the image, but just in the upper area. I'll put glue on the back and adhere this sweet little trick-or-treater image in place. And he's really ready to go out and get a lot of candy since he has 2 jack-o'-lantern buckets. For a sentiment, I'm adding the word boo. So there is my finished card. I made 2 using this design and 2 more using the left side of the pattern paper. The other 2 cards have a watercolor design going down the center. I added one of the large circle embossed die cut images and the sentiment "just so sweet." Then to finish it off, I put a small banner in the upper right hand corner. Now moving on to card design number 6. This pattern paper design is filled with Halloween balloons. Toward the bottom, it has a very soft peachish pink gingham design. I'll layer this piece on black cardstock. That black cardstock layer is an additional 1/8 of an inch. The pattern paper piece is 4 inches by 5¼ inches. I'll put adhesive on the back and add my card front onto a card base, leaving 1/8 of an inch of the white card base showing. I'll put the narrow scrap piece of pattern paper on the inside of the card. The embossed image I'm adding is this cute little pumpkin with a black and white polka dot bow. Since the pattern paper is fairly busy, I'll put the embossed image on a stitch circle die cut, and I'll also layer that circle on a black circle die cut. Put glue on the back and adhere the circle on the left side. I did pop up the pumpkin using foam dimension. For a sentiment, I'm adding Be Scary, and I did pop up the sentiment using more foam dimension. In the upper right hand corner, I'll put 2 of the small banners using the large banner die set 1 and 2. I'll add the black banner down first, put a scrap piece of cardstock on the right side, then I'll add the smaller light peach banner. The cardstock I use for the light peach banner has a pre-embossed polka dot design, so it adds a really fun detail. So there is my finished card, and this time I made a total of 6 using this design. The other cards feature different embossed die cut images and sentiments. I have a stack of books with a ghost on top, a couple of pink flowers. And the last 2 cards have a fun Halloween treat and the sentiment Spooky Wishes. After this card design, I was going to stop, but I only had a few sheets left, so I figured I would finish it off, and I made 5 more cards, although I didn't record the process. Here's a look at the 5 cards. This first one has lots of different Halloween treats, added the sentiment Be Scary. This next card, I used one of the ghost die cut images and the sentiment Halloween Wishes. I made 2 of this card design, a bucket of pink and orange pumpkins. And then my final card is horizontal. I just happen to have this piece left over. And I think it worked out well with the watercolor design on the very left side. It has that narrow strip of white and orange, gray, and pink stripes. And then the little Halloween party design on the right side. I added the ghost embossed die cut piece and the sentiment Happy Spooky Night. Now here's another look at the 31 cards I made using Paper Rose Studios Pink Halloween 6x8 Quick Cards collection, and I also had the coordinating embossed die cut pack. That way I could make multiples of the same card. If you are interested in any of the products I used in this video, I do have links in the description box below. The Pink Halloween collection also has a 6x6 paper pad, 12x12 collection. I believe there's a cut apart set and another embossed die cut set. And I will have a link for the full Pink Halloween collection in the description box. It has been super popular, so it may be temporarily out of stock, but it will be restocked. So here's what I have left over, just 2 small pieces of pattern paper and really not that many embossed die cut pieces, especially since I had the 2 full sets. Paper Rose Studio is located in Australia and they do ship their products internationally, but you can also buy their products here in the US, and I have several locations listed below. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a wonderful day.